Whenever you're ready. Welcome back. This is the third part and the final part of our interview with Vinny Gibson of Sunflower Transitions. I'm Faith Wood of Inspiring Minds Consulting, and you can find both of us on the web or on Facebook, and we really encourage you to do that, to reach out to us and let us know what you think. But for now, we were talking off break again, which is one of the best parts of doing an interview with breaks. And one of the things we were discussing is both of us having a very kinship idea with the idea of this disability. And I've often said that I think people are more disabled who just quit and give up rather than someone who's facing an injury such as I did in my law enforcement career. And frankly, the injury that ultimately did in my career, and you with the brain injury. And I think there's a whole host of moments when people face a really big obstacle in their life. Maybe it's the death of a family member or a provider, or just a significant change, a divorce, where we finally are finding ourselves at a crossroads.
Yeah.
And where we're facing having to figure out what the new normal looks like.
Yes.
And although we can read all the text and certainly the stages of grief and the phases of transition and all of the stuff that is on the World Wide Web, right at our fingertips,
yes,
it looks and feels so much different when we're really facing it.
Absolutely.
And so as somebody who is working through this transition with a real realization that this may be as good as it gets for you, Vinny, that your being back at work is a miracle in and of itself. But what if this is the new normal? How do you come to terms with that? What would you suggest if they were your client?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's true that we never really know how we're going to deal with any of life's challenges until that challenge comes knocking at the door. I really believe that each of us has a challenge or a journey that we're going to be walking at some stage in our lives, and how we respond to the challenge is going to determine if the challenge defeats us or we overcome the challenge. And for me, I think it came to a stage again in my recovery where I just had to make the decision that I was going to show up. Just show up every day in whatever form that would take in that day, but be as present as I could be.
And patient, I imagine.
I'm not a very patient person.
Me either. It's a work in progress.
And I would be the first to confess I probably am pretty much a perfectionist or close to being one of those. And so, that being present was just trying to not give up. And I do very much remember that there came a time in my recovery where I decided I would not be a victim to this. I was not prepared to live my life being a victim. I would fight in whatever way I was able to get to the newest, most best quality of new normal that I could get to. Or the newest.
When you speak about victim, what you're talking about is feeling like a hostage to your injury. So
absolutely, that's a good word. The feeling so trapped in this particular body as it was right now didn't even feel like it didn't feel connected to me. And so I think the whole disability began to be a journey for me of recognizing that even if I did not come back to my old self, I was going to move forward and live to the best of my ability in whatever my new normal turned out to be. I now go back to my coaching experience and my workshop delivery, and because I am aware myself that I'm not back to where I was, and I work with still some lingering disability, I choose to actually put that out there and talk about it very openly, by way of saying to people, if I lose my train of thought, for instance, and you see that I'm looking at you, deer in the headlights, and you think, and you think you might know what I'm looking for or trying to say, please throw out a word. If it's not the right word or the right thought, I'll throw it right back to you. And I mean that kind of sincerely, but in kind of a joking way, so that I can put myself at ease and just put myself out there the best way that I can, and hopefully people feel comfortable to actually communicate and respond to me as if I was still the same me that I was before this particular thing occurred. And so I think being able to put that whole disability into a new framework for myself and others, also being able to communicate that I can still do the things that I did before. It just takes me twice as much time or 3 times as much thought, or I have to do it differently because now my brain doesn't work quite the same way that it did before. But I can still do some things. If you see me looking like I'm not doing these things the way that you would do them, don't judge that I'm stupid or unable to do it. Maybe just recognize that I'm working with my ability the best way that I can to get the results that I would have gotten before.
Do you think that makes you a better coach and a better trainer because you're more thoughtful and more persistent in gathering the information and sharing it in a way that's distinctly meaningful? Do you think now, in spite of everything that happened nearly 5 years ago, that at the end of the day, you've actually perhaps grown and developed, and in some ways become even more powerful as a result of this injury?
I would have to say yes, I think that's true. I think it's given me a different level of empathy towards my clients' journeys. I believe it's given me a different window to be able to look into the lives of the people that sit in front of me now, and to hear their pain, to hear their journeys without judgment, without having any kind of expectation upon them. I think also it's made me more grateful for the journey, actually, for what I've learned through the journey. I wouldn't want to go back and repeat the journey from the beginning, but I now embrace the journey as part of me and my bigger journey. I think it's also helped me to be in the moment a little bit more, to look back and celebrate the little successes that have happened along the way, that sometimes when we're busy in our fully functioning bodies, we don't recognize that. Sometimes we've gone through this huge change, but we haven't taken time to celebrate the learnings that have come from the change that brought about this new situation or this new normal. So I would like to think that it's made me a better coach, that I listen better. I hope. I think it's made me a better coach because I see people with other disabilities now as being not disabled, but being people who live their lives differently. They live out their being and their skills differently, but they're still valuable. They're still essential to the bigger fabric of who we all are. And really, there's no person that has a better ability than another ability to how we put ourselves out there in the world. You can have a fully functioning body but have a negative mindset. That's also a disability.
Yeah, I think sometimes it comes down to the story that we tell ourselves. I mean, the story that you're sharing about your own journey, it's a very vulnerable story. And the fact that we all have one, and often we try to hide it
Right.
and shield it from prying eyes, as it were, when in fact owning your story and all the messy details that are contained within it is really part of what makes us human and allows us to impart perhaps greater wisdom, which may come down to just the tenacity of spirit that it takes to get out of bed in the morning. And
Absolutely.
for some people, that might be just the biggest thing they do in a day.
Absolutely.
But to keep working at it as you have, and know that times and energy will continue to evolve. And some days that the biggest hurdle you'll face is making coffee.
Yeah.
And you know, just the fact that you got it done will seem so monumental.
Yes.
And to someone else might seem like such a small thing, but for a person who hasn't been able to face it or do it, and being able to is a victory. And I think that's what you mean when you say celebrate, because
Absolutely.
I can certainly think of times when I was not celebrating my injury.
Yes. Yes.
You know, if you could leave listeners today with one final thought about their journey they're on in this transition we all face, or will face at some point, whether it's from an injury or it's from a change in circumstances, what would that thought be for you?
I'm going to make it two. Keep things in perspective. Don't lose perspective of the little steps that occur along the way. As you just said, you know, the little victories. Brushing your hair, if that was once something that was impossible. Being able to walk down the street unaided, if that was something that was not possible. Those are all little victories. And the other would be never, 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 never give up. Never quit. Never stop trying to do that next little thing, no matter how small. Don't let anyone tell you that you'll never be able to do it. But it's all in your head. Listen to yourself and yours, and dig deep for that story, because it's in there, and the story is evolving. With every little success, every little victory, that becomes a part of the bigger story. And even if the disability or the injury does not heal to the point of being fully back to where the person was before, let's be realistic, some people who sustain brain injuries are far worse than my situation. They do not recover to the same degree that I've been fortunate to get to by no fault of their own. The brain is an amazing organ, and some injuries that are perceived in the beginning to be very significant, people will heal from those injuries even faster than people who have been deemed to have a very mild injury, or even have gone with an injury that has not been diagnosed or has been misdiagnosed or undervalued, but still being able to live into the story the best way that you are able, I am able, is what gives the person the determination, the hope. Never lose hope that the journey is over. It's ongoing. Recovery is ongoing.
It's never over until we're on the lower side of the grass.
Exactly. The story is never over. Never say you'll never reach your goals again. Just keep putting the little steps in place.
So as a novelist, I would say that we've just had a pivot in the storyline, and we're writing a new chapter. You've been an inspiration, Vinny. I hope you continue to touch so many lives of the people who need it. Again, I'm Faith Wood, Inspiring Minds Consulting. This is Vinny Gibson, and you can find her at Sunflower Transitions. And it has been my absolute pleasure to interview you today. Thank you for your time.
And thank you too, Faith. So good to talk to you again today. Look forward to seeing you soon. Bye for now.
Bye for now.